Been investing in real estate but want to step up your game? Let's try commercial. So we're going to talk about how to disposition commercial real estate, how to get into it, how to finance it. Let's talk. You'll love it. Hi, I'm Greg, the Rocket Guy, and we're here in beautiful Concord, North Carolina, in Cabarrus County. Really, Cabarrus County in North Carolina has just been absolutely booming, and Concord has just undergone a wonderful downtown landscaping project to rework all of downtown. It's a wonderful spot to highlight what investing in commercial real estate can look like. So let's talk about what that looks like for an investor. You know, most people think investing in real estate is really just buying a house and flipping it, but there's so many more aspects to investing in real estate. Commercial is just one of the many product classes, and within commercial, you have office, retail, industrial, right? All those kind of subclasses in there. And here in downtown core, we know that we have mostly retail, maybe some office, and maybe some live-work environment or mixed use where you have live over retail, and makes a wonderful investment product. And there's certainly some very similar aspects. You can flip a commercial building, we call it repositioning, hold for the long term, which is a wonderful thing, and you can even wholesale a commercial building, just like you can residential. But there's some neat things about commercial that I just want to point out to you, residential developers and investors, that make things different in the commercial world. One is around kind of the tenancy of commercial. We know that if a home becomes vacant, hey, look, we can flip that thing right around, usually tend to turn over pretty well. Somebody plants their business in a building, they want to stay there for a long time. Now, when they vacate or they go out of business, the building can go dark and cold for a long time as well. But it's not unusual to have a 5, 10, or 15-year lease with a business, because they're going to market their address, they want to establish their roots in the community, they're going to, spend a ton of money in trying to drive traffic to their door. The last thing they want to do is leave. So tenancy is just a different animal in commercial, and a wonderful, wonderful thing if you don't like high turnover. The other thing that's really interesting about commercial is the way the tenants cover expenses. And a lot of times, a tenant can have a triple net lease. Triple net lease meaning they take care of all the maintenance of the building, pay the property taxes, the insurance. The owner is only really responsible for certain aspects, mainly just payment of their debt service, whereas in a residential product, usually the owner is responsible for most everything, and a tenant maybe changes the AC filters or checks the smoke detector. So when you're evaluating a commercial property, that's very, very important to understand, is like, hey, look, what expenses is the landlord actually responsible for? Because it might not be as many as you think. The tenant might be carrying that bill. So many people get intimidated about commercial property, and they wonder, do I even have enough money to buy a commercial building? How am I going to finance it? All those details. They're very comfortable with financing a house, right? I once heard it said commercial is just like residential, just more commas and more zeros, and there's a lot to that. The nice thing about commercial property is that lenders actually like commercial better than like a single family home, and that's why even in the multifamily side, once it crosses about 5 units, you kind of get into commercial lending. You start dealing with commercial bankers, but they like it because they like the income generated by the leases. It's more predictable as opposed to a residential unit that turns over more often, and so they have to put more into vacancy and all those kind of things for chargebacks. The other thing that commercial will allow you to do from a financing standpoint is to pull partnerships together. A lot of commercial leases are really kind of just guaranteed income type leases. Partners love that, right? They can all pull together some equity and then partner with a bank to be the debt partner, and then go and put that together. We call that syndication at some levels. It's the higher levels, but in the lower levels, it's just partnerships that can be formed to go together to buy a retail establishment like this one here in downtown Concord. So, but you know what? Knowledge is power, and without knowledge, you open yourself up to risk. So I would just advise everybody to study and learn and to practice and get a good mentor. So that's what we need to do. One of the things too, as we think about tenancy and leases and income and all that, is what's the quality of the tenant? So, how credit worthy are they? Are they going to be in for the long haul? Or, hey, look, are they just a fly-by-night business? So if the unit is going to be vacant for a while, the last thing you want to do is rent it out too early to a tenant that really is not going to stay there very long anyway. Then you just have another vacancy you got to deal with, remarket it, put it on hold for a while. So when you do rent it out, you want to make sure that it's a good quality tenant that has the staying power that you need for a 5, 10, 15-year lease. That's so important. In residential, we think about our tenants being people, and we have to kind of do background checks of the people. What's their credit history, what's their experience score, all that kind of stuff, and what's their income, criminal history, that kind of stuff. But when you get into commercial, Now you're starting to think about, hey, what's their business credit look like? We want to make sure we're dealing with good people, so to speak, because we're going to be dealing with individuals, but really from a tenant's perspective, it's the business. So how are the books of the business? Do they have good income? Is their business model really good? What product are they selling? Do we have confidence that the product's going to make it in the marketplace? All of those things go into account. Whereas in a residential home, you're just like, yeah, can you pay your rent? Yep, sure, here's my credit score, and boom, here's my 2 pay stubs. So it's a little bit more involved in the commercial side, but still similar things, their ability to pay and the longevity.